Fox News contributor and Washington Examiner columnist and reporter, is always a fun person to talk to on debate day. But first, a quiz, Byron. Earlier today, it's a one-question quiz. Earlier today, I was talking about Mike Doran posted a picture. Israel blew up a road from Bekaa Valley down to southern Lebanon, and speculated maybe that's to keep reinforcements from coming. I think it's to keep Hezbollah from escaping so that they don't have their own Falaise Gap. And I got hammered. What's the Falaise Gap? Okay. Do you know what the Falaise Gap is?
I think this is a World War II battle in which the Allies encircled a large area of Germans.
Exactly. July 1944, almost encircled. They left a little gap so that about 50,000 Wehrmacht got out. And I don't think that the Israelis want any of Hezbollah to get out of southern Lebanon.
I think they're taking care of all the family business here. And so, no, they do not want anybody to get out.
Now, Byron, my theory on Netanyahu unbound for the last 2 weeks or 2 months is that he came to the United States, took the measure of Joe Biden, found he's really a husk, sat down with Kamala Harris, who had snubbed him, and decided she's going to be anti-Israel. He got 5 weeks to finish before America can do things like cut off. They can't dare take action against Israel during the campaign, right?
I don't think so. I was even surprised at what the president said as he was walking out the door when he briefly met the press. Was it yesterday? That he wants them to stop. So, I mean, every time Israel has a military success, the United States message is stop right now. And look, Israel is a foreign sovereign nation. It's got its own priorities. It has a plan here, and they're going to do what they're going to do.
Byron, this is a very sensitive question, and I want to be respectful of the President of the United States. On the commentary podcast yesterday, they bluntly state we have a 25th Amendment situation with the President.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
If we don't, we're close to it. I think it's, the first thing, it's been bizarre since, was it July 21st when President Biden announced that he wasn't going to run. Most of the press corps has just kind of moved on to the campaign as the only story there is. Meanwhile, the world blows up and the President of the United States seems out of it. And you have to remember that Democrats argued that Joe Biden did not have the physical strength and mental capacity to campaign for president, but they absolutely insisted he had the physical strength and the mental capacity to continue to serve as president of the United States. It really made no sense, and we've had a number of instances, just like we were having, over the summer, of Biden appearing to be completely out of it. And it's got to be an enormous concern because he is still president until January 20th, and a lot of bad things can happen between now and then.
It is accepted practice for the President of the United States to use an auto pen for things like emergency declarations, so I don't think people in North Carolina, Tennessee, northern Georgia, western Virginia have to worry about FEMA being authorized. But I do think they have to worry about the competence of the federal government. Kamala Harris's visit did nothing to encourage me. What did you think about disaster? Is this their Katrina, Byron York?
Well, excuse me. It's kind of obviously they got a very, very slow start on this, and they were slow to understand the absolute severity of this, and they don't appear to have any motivation to actually handle this quickly. And people are obviously in just as desperate a situation as we saw during Katrina. Now, during Katrina, there was a lot, which is 2005, I believe, there was a lot of video. There was a lot of helicopter video. There were people on roofs in a city situation. Here we have people in desperate situations out in the woods in isolated areas, and there's not the sort of visual representation of it that people are seeing every single day. But this administration has been absolutely slow.
They're flat-footed. They're flat-footed. Now, I'm not going to do what Democrats did to George W. Bush and say he's indifferent to a population. In that case, it was African Americans. In this case, it would be rural America. I just think the federal government is clumsy, too big, and doesn't know what to do, and it's up to governors to act. But I've never seen anything as the
But even if you want to be cynical about it, I mean, it is a swing state. North Carolina is one of the worst here, and of course Georgia is severely affected as well. Even if you view this cynically, politically, that the only reason they would help is because they want to win the state, well, they should do it.
Yeah, they should. I've got to say, I have never seen anything like the picture of the grandparents and the grandchild who died because their roof collapsed and they fell into the water and they were being filmed by I became a grandfather for the 6th time last night, early this morning, and I just can't imagine being those grandparents or that parent. And why there aren't helicopters there. It's North Carolina. They got the entire army to the left, right? If you look at a map, it's in eastern North Carolina. They got to get to western North Carolina. I think the 101st is at North Carolina at Fort. It's no longer. I think it's Fort Liberty now. But I'm confused by that, Byron. Let's talk about the polls. Real Clear Politics average. Harris up 2 in the national. Trump up 0.1 in the battleground. Neither of those numbers make any sense because they're margin of error and you can't count on them. That means they're not real numbers. How do you feel about the election right now?
If you told me you've got to bet $100 on the election, like Brett Baer's candidate casino, I think I might do 50 on each one. I mean, I don't. I think when you see a small Harris lead, I do subscribe to the idea that does not translate into victory because the national polls are polls of popular vote, and Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by, I think it was 2.1% in 2016 and lost the election. Joe Biden won it by 4-point-something% in 2020, and he won the election. So somewhere in there is the margin of Democratic victory in the popular vote that translates into an electoral college victory. So when I see, she's up by 1.9 or 2.0 or something like that, I just think she's probably nervous about that. And also maybe you never know if polling has actually gotten better or if the same 2016 and 2020 problems apply.
Yeah, what I would love to know is what their models project turnout to be, since the turnout was so extraordinarily high in 2020.
Yeah,
I just don't know what it's going to be, so I don't know how they model it. Byron, I want you to stay during the break to talk to me a little bit about the debate. I want to remind everyone the debate is tonight at 9 p.m. Salem News Channel will start coverage with Larry Elder at 7 and continue after the debate 10:30 to, I think, midnight at least, with Andrew Wilco and Jeff Vaughn. And we will be simulcasting with agreement with CBS on the Salem Radio Network the debate tonight. Byron, what is your advice, and we'll carry over into the break, for J.D. Vance tonight?
Well, Tim Walz has a real record as governor of Minnesota, and his time as governor covered two of the most consequential times in our recent era, and one was COVID, and which affected all of us everywhere. But he was particularly wrong about COVID shutdowns. But the other were the riots in the 2020, the George Floyd riots in Minneapolis, and he was particularly wrong in a way that probably cost lives there. So he has a real record. So the more he wants to talk about how he was a football coach or a teacher, no, he was actually governor of Minnesota during one of the most consequential times, and he did a poor job.
I would say much worse than a poor job. He was an absent governor during a crisis. And that's when the governor's got to call up the National Guard. And he rejected appeal after appeal to call up the National Guard. And as a result, large parts of Minnesota are still, the Twin Cities are still unrebuilt. I'm going to go to break and talk to Byron about one specific thing, the moderators. So if you want to hear this conversation, you got to go to the podcast later today or over to My YouTube channel will also post it at HHS Links and at Hugh Hewitt on X. Stay tuned, America. Follow Byron on X, by the way, at Byron York. Get his daily newsletter from the Washington Examiner and stay tuned. Byron, I wanted to ask you about the moderators. I've been on with Margaret Brennan. I don't know Nora O'Donnell. I think Margaret is a liberal. I think Nora O'Donnell's a liberal. I think CBS suffers from the same problem of all legacy media. They've been hiring leftists for a long time, and the kids aren't really even open to center-right arguments, much less conservative ones. So I expect it to be a bad debate, and as bad as the ABC debate. Do you?
Well, they have two models. The moderators have two models in front of them. They have the CNN model from the June debate, which proved to be the end of Joe Biden. And then they have the ABC model from the September 10th debate in Philadelphia, which should have been an embarrassment, I think, for ABC and for maybe mainstream journalism as well. But the problem, of course, with ABC was that they decided to fact check in the debate, but they only fact checked one side. So they decided to fact check Donald Trump, not fact check Kamala Harris. I think it had a disastrous result. This is not to say that Trump did well in that debate. I don't think he did, but the moderators were terrible. So they really have two models in front of them, and they've already said that they're not going to fact check in this debate, which I think is a good idea. So they're going to say Waltz and Vance can fact check each other all they want, but the moderators aren't going to do it.
Now, Byron, when we did the debate in November with NBC, Salem partnered with NBC, we spent a month and 12 rehearsals, and it happened after 10/7. So we spent an hour and 15 minutes on national security in Israel. The world's on fire. Shouldn't they open up strong on this? Ask them about the IDF in Lebanon. Ask them about Taiwan. Ask them about Ukraine.
You would think so, but I have to say, I think most debate moderators, when they sit down to plan a debate, think to themselves, I need to start with the issue that voters say is the most important. And that continues to be the economy and the cost, more specifically, the cost of living. So my guess is they're probably going to start with that because just like in September and just like back in June, that's what voters say is most important to them.
I assume illegal immigration will come up as well because it's number two. Now, we've had an abortion question in every debate everywhere for the last 2 years. Do you think there'll be another abortion question tonight?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is one of those issues. I mean, if you look
Number
at
three,
the top issues, we're talking about the economy / inflation, the border, and abortion. And obviously, it's the issue that favors Democrats the most. So, yeah, there's going to be an issue about that. And that's one of the things they'll want to attack J.D. Vance on.
Yeah, this is what drives me crazy. It's been asked and answered by Donald Trump, who said, I like the decision to leave it with the states. J.D. Vance will repeat that. We know what the answer is going to be. I just think it's just bias to bring it back up because it's the one issue on which Kamala Harris leads Donald Trump, so they've got to get it in. Byron York over at X. Follow him as we watch tonight. He'll be I hope he will post a couple of his assessments at X, so I will know what the smart people are thinking inside the Beltway. Thank you, Byron.
Thank you, Hugh.